Niels, Annen, good to see you again. Thank you for coming, member of the Foreign Relations Committee in the Bundestag, and in Washington, D.C. at a tough time. I'm not going to go into too much details. Not the first time we've had some trouble, but this is a particularly difficult problem, I think, this business of the spying. And I think it was this morning, talking as we are now, that an individual has been asked to leave the Federal Republic of Germany. It's a very unusual matter, having this level of tension. I won't go into the background, but I will ask you, how do we get out of this mess? It seems to me that it's maybe even more difficult than Iraq was 10 years ago. Is it?
It is very difficult.
Is it more difficult than Iraq?
I hope not, but I cannot exclude that possibility. What my observation is that it's very, very difficult to explain here the dimension of that incident in Germany. And so we need really to make the case to Congress, to the administration, that they recognize that what is happening is limiting the ability for us, both countries, to work together. And the necessity to work together, if I only look at our European neighborhood, I'm looking at Ukraine, at Syria, Iraq, the Northern African situation, which is still not resolved. So, I mean, we really need a strong transatlantic relationship. But what we are seeing today in Germany is, if I go to town hall meetings, not only in my district, if I'm having discussions all over the country about the Ukraine situation, in the minute where we are criticizing Russia's behavior, somebody in the audience is standing up and say, wait a minute, what are the Americans doing? So I don't think that this is true for the foreign policy elite in Germany, but there's a dangerous tendency that people expect to have a kind of equidistance between what they consider to be big powers, so not playing by the rules.
Let me ask you this. You are a generation that has no direct experience or memory of what happened in 1948, 49 with regard to what happened after the war. Your experience and your generation experience is shaped by other events since 1990, for example, or 85, if you will. Do you think that Germany's development of its attitude toward the United States, in this particular case, the equidistance issue that you just pointed out, which is an interesting question, is that a function of the fact that Germany's generational changes are kicking in now, and people are saying our reference points are no longer what happened 60 years ago? They're really about what happened less than 20 years ago.
Well, I mean, it's obvious that a new generation comes with its own experience and attitudes. I'm not so pessimistic, because if you look at the history of our relationship, maybe it's a bit overstated, but in a way the German-American relationship has always been a little bit eccentric.
Absolutely.
We had the very tough times during the Iraq War. If you were looking at the opinion polls those days in Germany, I mean, George W. Bush was polling on the same level as Osama bin Laden virtually. And then,
and I would remind you that a certain national security director called the German-American relationship poisoned.
Yes, absolutely. And then we had a junior senator from Illinois addressing a crowd in Berlin that was so huge that they had to, with 200,000 people or more. Yeah. So it's going up and down, and I think the basis of our relationship remains strong, but every generation needs to identify its own priorities, and we always need to make the case for a strong and robust relationship. And the interesting thing now is that we have been listening since years to voices from the US that Germany needs to become a leader in Europe. We need to adapt another more self-conscious attitude. We need to take up leadership. Well, guess what? We are doing this not the same way as the Americans are doing. It's more kind of leading from behind. But if you look at Ukraine, I think it's really true that the German foreign minister, the German chancellor are taking the lead in this. And Germany's economy is surprisingly robust and stable. So, yes, you are dealing with a country that is in a very comfortable position and is taking its own decisions, and that sometimes comes with conflict.
I remember, May of 1989 when George Herbert Walker Bush talked about Germany and America engaging in partnership and leadership. I sometimes tend to think over the last 25 years you've become leaders in partnership, but leaders tend to sometimes make their own decisions, as you just suggested. So our problem on this side, if I'm gathering what you're saying, is that we're not recognizing that. Maybe we see in certain cases the world's a little bit too black and white. Let me turn the telescope around for a minute, though. Clearly this business with espionage and to some extent the question of Snowden and the NSA have made people resentful. But isn't it the case as well that Germany hasn't had a public debate about these issues either? What can Germany do at this point to maybe not help the United States? We have to help ourselves get into a better understanding of what's going on with this relationship. But what can you do at this point to increase the capacity of Germany to be able to tell not only the United States but other countries, these are our parameters. These in this particular sector, and we're talking about this particular problem area, that can help us gain some more candor in the relationship. What can you do to help that happen?
It's a good question. We are in the midst of a process that maybe will lead to a new foreign policy strategy in Germany. It won't be a 180 degrees change. And we cannot, ignore our history and the special tradition in Germany, which has served us very well. But one part of this discussion is that we need to ask ourselves, also maybe we have been a little bit naive, and
on what point?
On that security and intelligence issue. I've been talking to a lot of politicians the last days here, congressmen, senators, representatives of the administration. It's very difficult to explain that we are not spying on France, because everybody assumes that, well, everybody is spying on everybody. So if you get caught, bad luck. The German attitude can only be explained by making the case that we have been maybe giving too much trust in our relationship. So I'm pretty sure that we will be more observant. We will beef up our own capacities, but I don't think that we should do the same as our American friends have been doing, because what is the outcome of this?
The political payoff.
All the information that could be of interest are available. Read the newspapers, talk to German decision makers. We do not really have that kind of secrets in Germany. And the question I'm asking myself is, who is taking these decisions? Is there a calculation between what you're gaining in information and the possible political danger in case that somebody like the guy in the defense ministry got caught? So we need really to talk about this, and I'm afraid that it's maybe not the only case. And now with the German security apparatus being more cautious and maybe also looking after some cases, I cannot rule out the possibility that this will not be the last case. So if you're operating with intelligence instruments in a country that is not aware or does not care or has not the infrastructure to defend their own structure, then it's very easy. So we will looking after this
I get you. I get what you're saying, Niels. I mean, essentially, though, you're also saying that you have to have your own internal political debate domestically, because in many ways, I think that's been something that is a part of the transformation of Germany ever since really over the last year. Here we are coming up on the 25th anniversary of the wall, of that transformation of Germany, which is dramatic in a way, in a very, very short period of time. Let me point the telescope, the binoculars back to here. You've just spent some time here in Washington. You don't seem to get much response, you tell me, from some of the people that you've spoken to at this point. Do you think that this is something that only Obama can really fix by addressing it directly? He stood next to Merkel the other day at the White House and said, you know, if I want to know what she's thinking, I'll call her. Does he have to say something, or is there some other person or some other way that the response from our side could be better?
Look, for me, it's a little, how do you say, a conundrum, because the president has been addressing the issue after the cell phone incident. He spoke publicly about it. I worked in this town for over a year, so I think I learned a little bit about how this is working here. So it's not something usual that a US president gives an exclusive interview to a German TV station, but he did. So that was also, I thought that was a message, a constructive message. He sent John Podesta over, his senior advisor, to talk about cybersecurity. And we are engaging, or he engaged in a public dialogue with Foreign Minister Steinmeier. So I was not satisfied with the reaction, because there was no real change in policy, but at least our concerns were addressed on the highest level. And I recognize that. So, but the question is, if you do this, you make a public statement, not an apology, but, you know,
an explanation.
An explanation. You send your advisor over to a high-level dialogue, and then 48 hours you have that case of the first spy and now the second incident. So who's taking the decisions? I cannot really imagine that was a decision taken by the White House. If that would be the case, that would be really a problem. But the other option is also a problem, because then we have to ask ourselves who is in control here. We cannot take a decision for our American friends. I had the impression that also in Congress and in the Senate, people are concerned about intelligence oversight.
Here,
and
in the
here,
States.
Here in the United States.
Exactly.
This is little known in Germany, and it's important to explain that it's not only us. There are also American lawmakers who have raised concerns that this is a democracy. There's a lively debate about it. But at the end of the day, the political calculation needs to be taken here. And I only can say that our American friends are putting all the transatlanticists in Germany in a very difficult position, because it's kind of embarrassing also for the foreign minister to stand on the podium with Mr. Podesta, and a few hours later you have that revelation.
Right.
So think about what that means.
Yeah. Let me ask this one last question, Niels. When you look around Europe, do you think that Germany's reaction to this affair is unique, in the sense that we all know about your history.
Yeah.
We all know that comes with the baggage, the legacies that go with it. Quite frankly, you know, if you were in London and you were having this discussion, or perhaps in Paris, I'm not sure, would there be the level of sensitivity that you think Germany has?
Definitely not. Definitely not. In a way, it's an exception.
Right.
But I tend to say, look, there is disappointment, outrage, even rejection of the idea of German-American friendship. But there's also another interpretation possible, because you can only be disappointed and outraged if you value a relationship. So that is the good news. And I think Germans fundamentally agree with Americans on a lot of issues. We are both democracies. We believe in basic human rights and a rules-based international order. And so both sides need to work on this. So the disappointment is also a sign that, well, people are disappointed because they expected to be treated in a better way from a friend. But people still consider the Americans to be friends. And so that makes me, with all the problems that we have to manage right now, basically remaining optimistic.
Well, that's a very good thing to be. We are too, and let's hope that we can do that, keep that attitude going between the two of us.
We will try, Jack.
Thanks.
Thank
Niels,
you
for being with us today.
Thank you.